Good morning, everyone. I trust you're all well. Thank you for joining us on the last of the weekly series in Insights into the Parsha as we learn and pray for the community. So today's learning is dedicated in memory of Braina Bas Yitzchok Eliezer Silva Epstein, Hananel Ben Shlomo Singer, Tzvi Hershel Ben Meir Halevi, Hadassah Bas Avram Dov Finkelstone, Shmuel Aryeh Ben Bendis Jampel, Avram Ben Hersha Cohen Zerden, as well as Leah Bas Feivel and Ben Sion Ben Yitzchok. Wish all of their respective families long life and only simchas. I think it was Montgomery that said famously that the difficult we will do immediately and the impossible may take slightly longer. But when we think about challenges and ordeals and tasks in life, it's the mindset that is so critical to ensuring that we are able to succeed in everything that we do. One of the this episode that we've been discussing day after day about the spies, it really is challenging to understand, to comprehend. We're dealing with the greatest of their generation, some of the greatest men that ever lived. If you have a look in the Torah portion, you'll notice that Joshua and Caleb, who Joshua went on to succeed Moses, and yet his name is quite far down in the pecking order, and the order is in ascendancy or greatness, and therefore it is indicative of the fact that those spies that sinned were even greater than Joshua, some of the greatest Jewish people that ever lived. So where did it all go wrong? We've discussed various takes on it over the last few days. Let us share a fresh one today, which is based on an essay by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which was transcribed by Rabbi Sachs. And the idea is as follows. He says that one of the fundamental ideas and tasks of any leader, from a president to a parent, is that we are meant as leaders to instill in people, in our followers, a sense of confidence in themselves, confidence in their group of which they are a part, and confidence in the mission itself. A leader has to have faith in the people that they lead, and they're meant to inspire that faith in them. So the truth is that in no small measure, it's very much a law of self-fulfilling prophecy, and that applies in all of areas of human endeavor. So, for example, a person who says we cannot do it are probably right, and a person who says that they can do it is also equally right. Because if as we've already mentioned, if you lack confidence, then you will lose. If you have it, if you are confident, self-assured, solid, right? You've got a solid basis of confidence, then you are prepared and you are able to perform to the best of your ability, and you'll probably win. I don't know if you remember, but a few weeks ago, we saw an illustration of this. I interviewed Dimitri Salita. Dimitri Salita was the challenger, the Jewish Orthodox challenger in the boxing world, and he fought Imran Khan. I think it was, David, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was around 2009, and it was, he fought him in Newcastle. So Dimitri Salita, being a frum Jew, he spent the Shabbos in Newcastle, and after a lovely Shabbos, he got ready to have this world title challenge, amazing, against Imran Khan. And he lost, but he actually was surprised many in that they thought that he would be a really strong contender and give a really good fight, and he didn't. But what I found out in my interview is what preceded that actual getting in the ring that many of us have forgotten about. So because he was very openly Jewish, proud of his Jewish identity, proud of his connection to his people and to his faith and to his country, Israel. He wore a Magen David. And as he made his way into the arena, it was like going into the gladiators' bowl. He said it was horrendous. The virulent anti-Semitism. They were throwing chairs, they were spitting, throwing coins, and basically that sapped him of all his confidence before he'd even stepped foot in the ring. And therefore it took him time to get going. And by the time he managed to get back to where he should be, it was all too late, and the damage was done, and he lost in dramatic fashion. But the point being, as we said, that if you are confident, then you can overcome. If you lack confidence, then even if you are capable, you still, more often than not, will lose or will fail. And therefore, the word that is critical here is the word hope rather than optimism or optimistic, right? Because if I'm optimistic, then I believe that, things, please God, will get better. But if I'm hopeful, then I actually believe that together we can make things better. And I think it's a crucial lesson, that throughout Jewish history, if we look and we reflect, we see that time and again, that despite the adversity, the persecution that we have suffered as a nation, where we have been confident, we have succeeded. And where we have allowed others to convince us that we are, as in this week's parsha, described as like grasshoppers, that we are vermin, that we are nothing, then we have failed. And that is where we have come undone. And therefore, says Rabbi Schneerson, an astounding thing. He really turns the whole story in its head. It's rather than he says that the real concern of the Jewish people was not, they weren't afraid of defeat. He says that the tribes, the spies, were afraid, in fact, of victory. What they said to the people was one thing, but what led them to say it was another entirely different thing. And therefore, they were fearful because they knew that they could win, that they would be victorious. And sometimes we are afraid of our own shadows, afraid of what we can become. And rather we prefer to stay in our comfort zone of what we know, of what we're familiar with, rather than facing the possibility of even victory, but going to somewhere unknown. And he says that the tribes themselves, the spies, they felt it was better. They felt more certain and more secure and assured in the knowledge that they knew how to serve God in the wilderness. They knew what was being asked of them, what was expected of them, how they could achieve and accomplish as they had done in the past. And now, when they are standing poised, about to write the next chapter in the glorious chapter of our nation's history, it would mean venturing into the unknown. And therefore, that fear of being victorious and the status quo changing, and therefore having that uncertainty and being unfamiliar with the way serving God would be in the promised land, right, was something that they would not entertain, and therefore they resisted subconsciously. They had a jaundiced eye, and therefore it led to complete destruction. And that generation, all of them, with the exception of Joshua and Caleb, didn't enter the promised land, because a hallmark of being Jewish is that we are confident. Why are we confident is the question. And the answer is very simple. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Peter, Estelle, Caroline, and David, and everyone else who are joining us. The answer is we are confident because we know that it's not in our hands. Gam ki elech begetza maves lo irara ki ata imadi. Even as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you, God, are with me. With God, we are everything. Without God, we are nothing. The mistake that they made is they thought that it was dependent on them rather than it being dependent on God. If God wills it, it happens. And therefore we have to put our faith and trust in God and know, therefore, that if we do what's asked of us, the rest will fall into place. A fascinating insight and a lovely idea to conclude this week's program, and we'll now conclude with the memorial prayer and the Refuah Shlema prayer. Adon Olamim Zocho Es Nishmois Leah Feivel, Leah Bas Feivel, Ben Sion Ben Yitzchok, Brian Bas Eli Yitzchok Eliezer Silva Epstein, Hanana Ben Shlomo Singer, Tzvi Hersho Ben Meir Levi, Adasa Bas Avram Stov Finkelstein, Shmor Aryeh Ben Bendit Jampel, Avram Ben Hirsch Akoin Zerden Shalchu Lilamam, Began Aiden Temenu Chosom Lachim Alarachamim, Yasti Rein Besesa Kanavavi Olamim, Vayetzvo Esnu Vayetzvo Chesam Adna Nachlasam, Yanuchu Bishlomish Kavam Ben Amar. Amen. So, lastly, we want to say Refuah Shlema prayer for all those that are unwell. Bisha Berach V'Tein Rabbi Yitzchak Yaakov, Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivarach Rapes Acholim, Vav Hoshanu Mispalim Baparam B'Zchut HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalim Rachim Aleichem Lachem Alefosam Yishlachnu Refuah Shlema Shemaim L'chol Ben Masach Shacha Yisrael Refuah Sanefesh Refuah Saguf Hashavak Zman Kariv Ben Amar. Amen. Wish everyone well. Keep safe, keep well, look after yourselves. Thank you so much for your support and for joining us day after day and learning with us and growing with us. It's phenomenal that we keep going. And please God, we look forward to seeing you on Sunday at 9:30, Kabbalat Shabbat at Woodside Park Shul, and on Zoom is at 7:30 p.m. Have a great Shabbos, look after yourselves. We've got another Bar Mitzvah, another Simcha in Shul. We're getting back to normality slowly but surely. Keep well, keep safe.